Welcome to Surly Tim's Fun Bunker. I'm Surly Tim. Actually, what I wanted to touch on this one, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I actually may write up a few pieces for my page on Facebook. But there was a set of books released in the 70s. They had two different types of books, but Pendulum Press did a series of books based on classic stories, but Pendulum Press had a subsidiary company, and of course this is a subsidiary title. Now Age was the name of it, Now Age Illustrated. It came out in the early 70s. It was an attempt to promote reading in the 70s, which, of course, that was just something that was evidently a big deal. I remember a big push when I was in grade school about that. Now I have a few. I've got Helen Keller's The Story of My Life. The artwork, the front cover on this one's actually better than the interior work. But there were a number of books put out. There was Red Badge of Courage, Dracula, Tom Sawyer, The Mysterious Island, The Great Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and Black Beauty. That seemed to be on the first run. This came out, I believe, in '74. Yeah, 1974 is when Helen Keller's story came out. I also have hardback editions. There was a company called Permabound that actually did a lot of work during that time period to kind of keep the books in hardback form. But I mean, it kind of kept them from being destroyed and everything. But it kind of detracts a little bit. And what was it? The Helen Keller story was $1.45. These, which I've got two more books to show, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. Also on the back it lists several other books too. There was Huck Finn, Frankenstein, Treasure Island, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Time Machine, Call of the Wild, Moby Dick, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There are quite a few of these books in this series. I've actually run across a bit of a glut at the bookstore of these. I found about 10 or 15 of these books, and I'm really looking at the beginning of the month when I get paid. I'm hoping to go ahead and pick up several of these. Here's some of the interior art for The Time Machine. That's probably the best piece that I found, kind of based on what's on the front cover. The other one, Frankenstein. This, to me, it predates Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, which was ingenious in and of itself. But this Frankenstein was probably the first experience with the character Frankenstein I had, other than the Universal Monster Classic flicks that I had watched as a kid, loved dearly. There's a front cover of Frankenstein. I actually have a couple of pieces from the interior that I was taken with. The first page, really nicely illustrated. This page in particular reminded me of the Wrightson work. And then the final piece that I found in there was actually the final page. Really detailed work, really nice work. The artist's name was Nardo Cruz, who did this one. Otto Binder evidently did a lot of the adaptions and changed them over for these books. Really good stuff. Now, they also did, through the Pendulum Press, they did a series of history books. And unfortunately, I only have 4. In the series, there were... should have wrote this down, made it a lot easier. There were... how many books in this series? I know it says it in one of them. But, okay, starting off, I have The Problems of a New Nation, 1800 to 1830. Rebound by Permabound, of course. There was before the Civil War, 1830 to 1860. Just as an example of some of the artwork. I mean, it wasn't overly amazing artwork, but it was. I think this was probably one of the best examples of the artwork, the range of the talent at the time. Like I said, these were meant to promote education during the 70s, and these all came out in 1976. The titles, there was New World 1500 to 1750, The Fight for Freedom 1750 to 1783, The United States Emerges 1783 to 1800, 1800 1830, Problems of a New Nation, which I have. America's Move Westward, 1830 to 1860. Before the Civil War, 1830 to 1860, which I just showed you. The Civil War, 1860 to 1876. Industrial Era, 1865 to 1915. America Becomes a World Power, 1890 to 1920, which I have. The Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression, 1920 to 1940, which I also own. World War II, 1940 to 45, and America Today, 1945 to 1976, which brings it up to this time period. Now, these guided at $1.25 a piece, not guided, but they were sold at that price. The other volumes that I have, like I said, America Becomes a World Power, 1890 to 1920. It might be a little dark, a little glared, it's hard to say. Now these are library copies, they have the strippings, but which is fine with me. 1920 to 1940, the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression. There's that. Now that was actually probably the first time I ever heard of the Great Depression or the New Deal, all the stuff that came around that time period. I learned a lot of history from these types of books, not necessarily these copies, because I bought these about 10 or 15 years ago. But when I was in grade school, I looked through these quite a bit, and as I was a huge comic book fan anyway, it just seemed like a natural progression. But yeah, that was something that I actually wanted to share with you guys for quite a while now. Actually, although I just pretty much started, is something I've been wanting to do for a while, so not necessarily trying to say that you guys were my inspiration, but it was something that needed to be done. Hopefully I'll find more, and when I do locate those, hopefully at the beginning of the month when I get onto the used bookstore, hopefully I'll find more, and maybe I can share those with you as well. Well, that's the end of this episode. I have a few more to shoot today, and hopefully I'll get these out soon. Thank you much for watching. Bye.